I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast. Set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a day
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
All right, we're on. All right, today is May 11th. It's Saturday, May 11th. I'm here at Rodeo Corpus Christi in Corpus Christi, Texas, and we're trying to tell everyone about what all is coming next week. Next week, there's some big events coming. I'm talking with two of the coaches for the Kid Rock Rodeo. We got 4-time world champion Bobby Mote, the president of the World Champions Rodeo Alliance, known as the WCRA. And we got Linsay Rosser-Sumpter, third-generation member of the Rosser Rodeo family, granddaughter of the Hall of Fame cowboy Cotton Rosser, and commissioner of the Women's Rodeo World Championships, known as the WRWC. Thank you guys for taking the time.
Thank you. Thanks
got
for having us.
Got a cool rodeo going on.
Yeah, this is a fun rodeo.
Yeah. This rodeo means something right here because all the rest of the contestants for the Kid Rock Rodeo have already been drafted. So this is your last chance. If you want to qualify for the Kid Rock Rodeo here in Corpus Christi, this is where it's at, correct, Bobby?
Yeah, so this is the only other way to get in. So when they started, if I start from the beginning, they selected 6 coaches for 6 teams. Each team has 2 athletes in each division or each discipline. The only discipline we don't have is bull riding, right? And the reason why is because it's going on right during the PBR World Finals. Those guys will have had about 4 days in a row, and it's like an off day for them to go to the training room and get all the bumps and bruises worked out. And so then Friday, May 17th, we have the Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, Cowboy Stadium. So when they announced the coaches, they sent out basically a notice for a draft declaration to everybody, and it's open to the world. Basically, over 1,200 people submitted themselves declared eligible for the draft, and so that was the list that they had to go off of. And so you had coaches that were calling people and saying, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard about this yet or not, but this is coming. Here's a form. Sign up to make yourself eligible for the draft so we can pick you." Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, over 1,200 people, and it was a name brand list, basically. When you look down there, I mean, there were a handful of names missing of people that were just like, I don't know what it is. I don't want to put my name down. They'll be on it next time.
Oh, I believe it.
Because this thing's going to be really cool. But so that's how it began. And then so of those 6 teams, 5 of those teams drafted in March. What was it, March 17th? Mm-hmm. March 17th in Fort Worth. They had a draft, and it was, on a timer. It was just like they do in, professional football. Mm-hmm. It was on a timer, and they drew for positions. And these teams, every team has a coach and an assistant coach. And they had, sort of their but they had the round picks and everything, all that was drawn. And so there was a lot of strategy into who you didn't just get, you could pick over every discipline, mm-hmm. right? So what was Justin McKee's strategy for starting with, whatever.
He traded.
The
it was
racing.
Crazy. When we were sitting there in that room, we were all like, okay, for us, we had our list of who was on our leaderboards because we can only take whoever wins first and second here at Rodeo Corpus Christi. So we were looking at, okay, who's on our leaderboards, who's in the draft, who's going to get drafted. And we were kind of like crossing off the list as they were getting drafted. So before it ever happens, Charmaine's team, Justin McKee's, her assistant coach, they have first round draft pick. Well, Sid Steiner is a coach as well, and everybody knows that he's going to want Rocker on his team. So Justin manipulated this entire situation to where he got almost every single pick in the first half of the draft. He traded his first round, his number 1 pick for all of his bottom picks for the number 1 draft pick to Sid so that Sid could get Rocker, because everyone who could draft was going to pretty much try to get him just to just to aggravate Sid probably more than anything on the, camaraderie of like messing with everybody. So the Sledgehammers, they're Rocky Mountain.
What are all the teams? There's 5 or 6. There's 6.
Yes, there's 6.
teams.
And I don't know we're the team Free Riders, which I think we have the best name.
So Free Riders is going to be coming. These are the cats that are coming out from Corpus Christi.
Yeah, and we're blue. So
how did they get qualified for Corpus Christi?
The top 20 in the leaderboard from the WCRA. So you had to nominate the rodeos that you were going to in the segment series. So the segment was open a certain amount of time, and you can nominate the jackpots. You can nominate rodeos. You can nominate anything that we could get the results from a secretary that had a rodeo or a jackpot. So we verify that it's a true rodeo or jackpot, and then get the results, and the money that you win is transferred into points on the system.
So your guys' draft strategy is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we qualified through here.
Yeah, they got to get qualified, and so then our only recruiting we could do would be just to try to encourage people to nominate. I mean, WCRA has the world's largest open qualifying system in rodeo, and so it doesn't matter what card, what association, who you are, where you come from. If they have a rodeo with 5 or more contestants in an event and it's publicly verified results, then they can count it. The bigger ones count for more points, the smaller ones count for less. And so you got to win more often at a smaller one. But basically it says no one's excluded from having a chance to come here. Right. And so then we said that the field is going to be 20. Basically that was the
cutoff.
That was the cutoff on the leaderboard. And so 6-month long segment or season. And then once they get here, so then they just work their way through the format. The rodeo in itself is fantastic. If you came in through the wild card round, you could win 30.
This is Corpus Christi?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 34,500.
What is added here?
Well, there's a guaranteed payout of like a little over 600,000.
Yeah.
And so they show
I think Jackie said she won the first round. It's 5,000 to win the first round. And then the average was at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's before the short round tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. There was Gus Galliard's won 17,000 already in 2 days before the short round.
He's 40%ed him so far. He's won both go rounds in the average.
That's more than Dustin Esquiza won by winning the first 2 rounds of San Angelo. That's a hell of a rodeo.
Well, I mean,
that's as much as you could win. I mean, if you look at what the final payout's going to be, I think that they were looking at it, and this rodeo with added money is one of the top 15 rodeos in the country.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when will this rodeo air in Corpus Christi? Because this podcast will come out next Monday, so that way I want to make sure everyone is able to watch this.
Yeah, I think it's like the 1st of June.
1st of June. This will
I know. Kid Rock's Rock and Rodeo will be on May 26th, and then this one here actually follows. We needed to get the, getting on network TV is
because I thought watch Jackie on the Cowboy Channel here at Corpus.
We're live on Cowboy Channel.
So Corpus Christi
and Ride Pass on Pluto.
Okay.
Yes, all that's live, and then the final round, the Triple Crown round, will be it's an hour-long TV broadcast and network broadcast, and it goes. That's a separate product that goes on CBS. But
CBS,
yeah, and so all the mainstream rodeo fans, they get to watch it on Cowboy Channel or Ride Pass Pluto. The people who are sitting in Buffalo Wild Wings and rodeos on, and you catch their interest, or they're in the hotel at the Holiday Inn, or they're home. That's who you get on CBS. And so on average for this one, May and June are not the best time for network windows as far as getting a lot of viewers, because people are outside. The weather's good. January, there's part of the reason why football season,
playoffs.
Yes, all that's going on. But we still average about 500,000 viewers for an hour-long show. Put that in perspective, the NFR gets about 100,000 in a performance. So, everybody just assumes that there's millions of people watching. There really aren't. The largest group of viewers that rodeos had was the Women's Rodeo World Championship, and 2.1 million viewers.
That's the perfect storm.
That's a big deal.
And they sat and watched a women's rodeo, our championship round for Women's Rodeo World Championship. It was on Halloween after a football game, in between 2 football games. Network, 2.1 million viewers.
Awesome.
On CBS, Like
Yeah.
when you have rabbit ears, you can watch it.
Because that's where, like, I was looking into, like, me and B. Bray were talking about this, and we're talking about the different sponsorship levels that, say, the PBR had, the PRCA had, and on down the line. And when you look at what the viewership is in the PBR, it's massive. But then when you look at their corporate sponsors that are involved, their corporate sponsors are in the billions. Like when you have Monster Energy drinks, those are $1 billion companies. Like they had $1 billion companies. Well, then you look back down the PRCA and they had $1 million companies. I think maybe one of the strongest sponsors I think they had was Wrangler at $500 million. I think is what we looked at on what the numbers were. Well, when you look at viewership, that's what the big sponsors are looking at. How many eyeballs are fixing to be on this product? So it makes sense on where you're trying to get more viewers.
Well, that's
get bigger sponsors.
That's where the money
payouts.
is in television and media. I mean, obviously, when you look at the power that social media has with the impressions that it can make, but then on the bigger scale, when you go to the bigger, it's when you are on those network televisions like CBS Sportsnet, Fox, all of those things. It kind of changes the game a little bit because then, like you said, the sponsors come in and they say, okay, what's the value in, what's the eyeballs and what's going to happen? Who's going to see it?
Yeah.
And that's what's most important to those sponsors. When you're talking to them, that's their number one question.
I love it where you guys are getting outside the box to create bigger opportunities for Cowboys. It's what you guys are doing for Rodeo. It's fun to watch. I'm excited for the future for sure. So as you guys are sitting back waiting for the Cowboys and the Cowgirls to come your way, is there any of them that you kind of have your eye on? That
there's one cowgirl that I know.
Is there a cowgirl you know?
Yeah, there's a cowgirl, and it pumps me up to no end. Well, first off, when we were sitting there, like I said, like all of this drama was happening in the room, and obviously I'm like telling, Bobby and I are talking about bulldogging teams and the bulldogging horses, and the hazers are going to come into play big time, and we're talking about all this, and never in my wildest dream would I imagine that the matriarch of breakaway roping doesn't get drafted, which is your wife and my dear friend. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Because it's March. Jackie's made every winter rodeo short round. She hadn't won Houston yet, but she's in the top 5 in the world at this time. And I'm like, okay, they really just didn't draft her. And I send her a text and I'm like, hey, I need you to nominate everything that you go to from now on because I need you to get to Corpus Christi. And I know that she knew right away, and she went to a jackpot that night.
Yep, she did.
And nominated it.
I heard about it.
Yeah. I could only imagine.
Well, I was bitter because I don't get to go because I have a clinic. There's no bigger Kid Rock fan.
You
you
don't get to come?
No, I don't get to come. And I'm telling let's not even talk about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I've been accused of not even being a true fan of Kid Rock because I freaking trying to go make money.
That's awesome.
And so she's like, oh, yeah, I'll probably get to go party backstage with him. And then she's like, yeah, I didn't get drafted. I'm not sure in my household which one was more bitter. Me or her. And I'm like, when she said she didn't get drafted, I was like, oh shit. I said, all I know is they better grab their ass at Houston. She was freaking right. They better.
And then she won it.
And then she won it.
And nominated
don't think
it.
have you guys ever seen that freaking Michael Jordan documentary where they look for shit to get pissed off about? Yeah, that's her. That is her. She ropes way better when she's pissed off. And she freaking went and won Houston. Number 1 in the world, though. You don't want to pick me? Fine. I'll go to Corpus Christi. Now she's in the short round tonight.
Well, and on the first calf.
Won the first round.
Because with the format, and we talk about this a little bit, the cool part about looking at this is when you go to a tournament-style rodeo, it can be kind of hard. Like, you got to either most money one. It's like a one-header every night. That's great. But here, it can be a one-header every night, or you can be an average roper and advance. So round 1 wins. Goes the championship round. Round 2 winner goes the championship round and top 5 in the average to make the 7 that are here tonight. So, like, for somebody like me, I'm not a 1 roper. I'm a 2 flat roper. Like, I can rope on in 1, but I'm more of a conservative, I would say, roper. Daniel Oman, lights out, hair down every time, just flying at him. And so for me, this format as a contestant fits my kind of mold way better because I can still win money in the go rounds. I can still do all of that, but I can advance in the average where if it was only, the girl who wins the first and second throughout the entire, format, it doesn't necessarily fit my mold. So the cool part is that the WCRA has adapted, the qualifying system to fit every type of athlete.
No,
Well,
I love it.
Well, and that comes through, we do a survey after every one of these majors, and we get all the responses, and we get together as a group and we go through those responses and we try to sift through and see if there's any common threads. And we ask questions about like the format, because the format's changed here a couple of times since we started here in 2021. They used to have Slack and Robstown and all this qualifying and stuff, and it just diluted the whole offering, diluted the payout, made them have to be here longer, had more people, which more people seems like a better idea, but it isn't necessary. So finally and then we had three or four different majors, and they all had different formats, and all we kept hearing is, you guys keep changing everything. We can't figure it out, which I think is funny because Rodeo has zero customer service, zero handbook, go-to place where you can find any information at all. It's the biggest secret society there is. And we have a whole staff of people who are dedicated and hired to customer service. Like no rodeo organization in the world has that. But yet we still get all this criticism. Well, you change this, you change that. Well, we put everything in the damn ground rules before a segment even begins. So people, if it's your business, you're going to read. When you're rodeoing, you knew what the rules were. You knew when you went to San Antonio. Remember when San Antonio changed? No one held our hands and said, this is how you're going to advance. This is how it's going to work. Like you either showed up and learned the hard way, or you read in the sports news and deciphered through it and everything else. We take it, 100 steps further and try really hard to educate people. But regardless, you still get some grief for changing. But I really feel like we've landed on the right format. And it's the same format that basically is at Tryon and Rodeo, North Carolina. So people know basically be in the top 20. Ideally, be in the top 8, because that's the core group who's already seeded in the progressive round. If you're outside of that, you got to win into it through the wild card round. Jackie was smart enough to be in the top 8. So, and then she goes and just rings it out of one in the first round. She's already advanced. She's got nothing to lose last night. She draws a faster calf, goes and knocks him down, wins second in the aggregate. Place is still wins a good check, but, she wants to win today.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to get to today.
Yep.
So like what Linsay was saying is that format fits everybody, because you could just, if you didn't draw good and you're on the strong end of them, just go knock them both down. Yeah. And if you draw good and you can take advantage of it and win around, then you're in, either way. So
I do like that strategy.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard because we do hear a lot like, oh, you always change the rules. Everything's always changing. Okay, well, if we're not willing to adapt to things that make it better, is it better to leave it the same way because that's the way that it was, or is it better to adapt? And in my opinion, it's better to adapt and make things better. Is it different? It can be different, yes. Is the core of everything the same? Absolutely. So when like the format can change, and then now we look at it this way, it benefits the majority instead of a few, right? So it's hard when we get kind of gripe for adapting the ground rules when we're a young company, right? We're a young organization, and to see things that were wrong and to try to fix them, and then you get in trouble for fixing them, and you're like, well, we're just trying to help you out, make it better, So I think that sometimes the rodeo industry, we lose our grace when there's new things, and the Kid Rock Rodeo is going to blow a lot of skirts up because it is not anything like anybody is used to. And I can't wait for everybody to really see how much different the rules are at this rodeo, because it was hours of multiple phone calls on getting the ground rules for the Kid Rock and Rodeo kind of set. And even now when all of us coaches get on a phone call, we find something that's like, what happens then? So, the adaptation to change for our industry is it can be rough and it can be daunting. And I feel like we get kind of almost like a black eye, or, just a little bit of like a sour taste in your mouth about WCRA because they changed things, but anything that we've ever changed has always been to benefit the contestant and to benefit the entire entity. So.
Well, I would say that contestants, and I've been a contestant, we're a pattern animal.
Mm-hmm.
We go to San Antonio now we know how it works. We go to Reno, we know how it works. Tuning fork. So there's such a pattern right there, and then most of us can't read anyway. And so then when we have to read and sift through it and stuff, and it's new, it takes a little while. What I do like is the fact that I remember in 2021, I believe the payout is way better now than what it was then. This format here seems way easier to understand than where it's at now. That's how you're building company. That's how you're going to evolve. That's how you're going to get past of where the stigma we need tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You of all people know, be in the entertainment business of rodeo, that you do need entertainment. And you do need a certain tradition and structure, but also we've been at it for a long time doing the same stuff. So let's tweak the edges. Let's kind of start,
that's where
seeing how we're going to make this thing.
I wish that all contestants, if you have doesn't matter, if you have a card or anything, that you have to be on some sort of side of production, because when you're on any sort of side of production, it changes your mindset. If you're just a contestant, good on you. Go to your local rodeo committee and help them.
Yep.
And just see how hard it is to produce a rodeo and put on and get a good set of cattle together and get good stock put together and the bleachers, whatever, just help put it together, because then you might have a little bit more grace and everything when it comes to it. But we forget that we are in the entertainment industry. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think contestants, we get so self-absorbed in our mindset that it's about us and winning and trying to make a living. But if the people aren't in the seats and they don't like what they see, they're not going to come back. They're not going to tell Sally and Frank at home or at church that they went to the rodeo and it was amazing and it was so fun and the kids had fun and they laughed and they were carrying on and the hot dogs were good and, the music was good after if they had a concert, or just that the whole rodeo was good in general. The bucking horses were good. All of that stuff comes into play. And so if there's not people buying tickets and sitting in the stands, then the rodeo industry's dead, because the money is not going to be there. And so we as contestants, as producers, as commissioners, as presidents, have to look at it on all sides and put the pieces together. And so we have to remember that if we're not getting butts in seats that are happy to be there and to come back to tell their friends and sell out arenas, wherever it is, then it doesn't work.
Well, it's also important to understand that Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo, this isn't meant to replace traditional rodeo. It's not something that's going to happen 52 weeks out of the year. It's a special event that brings more attention to rodeo, more visibility, and hopefully casts a broader net over the public to try to bring new fans into rodeo. And so even the people who aren't involved stand to be benefits of it. The WCRA comes at it from a different angle, because our customer is the athlete. We're the only, I'll just say, we're the only ones that see it that way, because our customer really is the athlete. Do we have to have a palatable product for the fan to stay in business? Of course we do. But if we make changes to ground rules, formats, whatever, there's no benefit to us. It's like you take the calves. Okay. So, the nature of these little buildings, every time that an animal goes in it, they get a little worse usually, right?
Absolutely.
And so 3 days in a row on tie down calves, they're circling back. They're just all kinds of bad stuff, right? So case in point, last night, some people were just not mad, but confused by the group of calves who were in progressive round one weren't the same group of calves who were in progressive round two. And so it's well, in rodeo, you got to have the same ones. Well, so what will they look like by the third round? So if you got 12 head and 2 extras, you got 14 calves to go through. Well, today in the showdown round and triple crown round, you got a round of 7 and a round of 3, and you need extras for both. So that means if you got one that just doesn't take it, one that kicks, one that doesn't start, one that hauls butt, one that circles back to the left, you just got to put them in there. Well, that's the way we do it in rodeo. This is that way of thinking is unacceptable, in my opinion. And so we'll try new stuff, and all of our new stuff hasn't worked. We've tried some stuff that seemed great in theory, and then you put it into practice. Oops, we need to tweak that, but it's never been hey, rodeo people are so cynical. They are just sure that we're out to get them somehow. That's the last thing we are, because if we were out to get them, we're trying to cut our nose off to spite our face, because they're our customer.
Yeah.
And so if the athletes are not happy with us, they'll just go somewhere else. There's lots of options.
Well, I do like, and the fact that also too is you guys are able to let the contestants pick Because I know Jackie, as soon as the round was over last night, group of girls, they all went over the calves, picked the ones that they want in the final 7 and the final 3. So you're letting the contestants right there be their own producers in a way. So that makes the a level playing field. Because like if you make the short round at, I don't know, rock on with say Reno, you're drawing whatever someone brought in. So if somebody might got by that one calf or that one steer that circled around, they got by them. Well, then now all of a sudden you got to figure out how to catch them when the
big money's up.
When the big money's up and the good ones are about to go. So you're kind of in a disadvantage. But I do like the fact you're trying to make it with letting the contestants do that. You're letting it be a roping contest and not a drawing contest, which is what contestants all they really.
It's in every single party's best interest if the competition is set up in a way that they can shine. Mm-hmm. Like it's hard enough to win as it is. Mm-hmm. We don't need to make conditions like so much wildly different for you than they are for me and just make it that much harder. I mean, hell, it's already too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is the competition itself. And then you have the things that are out of your control, like stock. So you just try to fix as much that's out of your control, like try to level the playing field as much as possible.
And if you're a team roper out there, which is what I deal with and stuff like that, is because anybody, if you gripe about the cattle just enough, just try one time to put on an event and try to get cattle that you think are going to stay even, and then put them in a building and watch how fast the hard runner might lope.
Oh,
the
every
loper
time.
might run. You don't know what happens when they put them. I watch it. I've been there. We've all been there where we've had cattle put together. Like, how that steer never did that at home, and then you sound like a horse trader. He never bucks. You never bug with me.
Well, yeah, like so here for instance,
you can't control it.
Yeah, like in the team rope, and the trouble is they all want to come to the left and they all want to circle back. So the first 2 years, it's like first it's the steers, and then somebody's the healers, and so like. I learned a while ago that if I bring new set of cattle to your arena, if I just unload them in the trailer and run them through the chute, we're going to wear one horse out just trying to get them in the strip and chute. They won't look at it.
Yep.
Right. And so then they're going to go to wherever their home is. And so then I guess maybe last year we started doing it. We run them. Well, every day when they bring the cattle to the arena, they run them in the buck and chutes, so the right-hand delivery. So if you're sitting in the head box, the right corner, we run them out that buck and chute, down that wall to the right side, around back, and then when we spill them back into that right buck and chute. So, and I've noticed that unless the healer was up there pretty high, they've all stayed straight long enough for them to get a good go.
Yeah.
And so that
you guys have done just in that right there. Have done more for preparation than I've seen in maybe my career. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but if you don't do it, then
it's a terrible show and a hard competition.
Yeah, and then I spent money and effort to try to qualify to come down here. I come down here, and my steer circles back to the left, and I'm just like, this sucks.
Yeah,
and so then I don't come back.
The good thing about where you're at, Bobby, too, as being president of the WCRA, is the fact that you've been on both sides of the chutes. You've been on the rough stock side of things. You know how the strings are attached. You know what people are needing back there. And you've also been on the timed event side. You've team roped for a long time. So that's what's good about having the head right there of being able to, the contestant side is understanding the rodeo. And that's a huge advantage I think, with the WCRA.
Well, and, shifting back to Kid Rock's Rock and Rodeo, all of the coaches, everybody involved, they've made a career out of rodeo. And so you have a lot of knowledge
especially
and
Dale
experience.
Dale Brisby.
Especially.
When you can shank one in 90 every time you nod your head. I mean, I can't believe what that cat's been doing for rodeo.
No, it's awesome.
Holy
and
smokes.
This is the industry in general. I mean,
I watched him on a podcast a few years ago, and they were talking about, I think Trevor and Cody Johnson and him were all kind of, I think, at the Vegas. This is before Dale was really, really Dale.
Do you remember when he first came? Do you remember when he had his rubber boots and he wore a vest
dog.
And he never wore a shirt and he just wore a vest and his rubber boots?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was a wig then. Now it is his hair, but
I laughed because I remember that podcast, and I remember them saying, Cody Johnson and Trevor Brazil both saying that, it's going to be crazy that the influence those two have. And they looked at Dale and they said, you're probably going to do more for rodeo than either one of us. And this cat's been on Joe Rogan.
Right.
He's been on the USC fights. He's doing a lot for rodeo.
Certainly. And think about how much criticism he's faced.
That's why I wanted to kind of go after that, is because I don't think people understand what this guy's doing for rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great. A personal story is my brother's sons. They're baseball. They love baseball. They're Rossers. Their last name is Rosser. They have rodeo blood in their, just oozing all over them. And they want not really anything to do with horses. And my brother's youngest somehow catches on Dale Brisby on YouTube. And then in 1 week, he's roping the dummy. He's riding. He wears his cowboy hat. His older brothers are, and he still plays baseball and he still plays basketball. But Gabby, he loves rodeo now, and it's all because of Dale. And so when we were at the draft, I told him, I was like, hey, I just have to tell you, like, thank you for what you do, because he doesn't use profanity. He does not. There's only one person who really drinks around his stuff, and that's JB, because he just does his own thing. And I mean, you're not worried about what they're watching when they're watching Dale's content.
Nope. He's clean. He's a Christian. He doesn't drink. And I have just tried to listen to him as much as I can, because to be able to stay that relevant
for so long,
for what he's doing for that long, that guy evolves. That's another cat right there that knows how to market. He understands the business.
Oh,
and
for sure.
Where he's in front of now, I mean, I see him USC fights with Theo Vaughn. He's coaching here. Like he's in the mainstream of things that's going on. And just a complete wizard of clean marketing, good humor. And he's a cowboy. You know what I mean? Guys want to say, oh, he's this. Oh, he's a dang cowboy. Like, that's what he does, And go ahead and throw him on a bronc. Let's see how good he can shank that son of a gun if you don't think he's a cowboy.
Well,
Ride a bronc, ride a bull, rope cattle.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah. Cowboy.
But it's fascinating. So I wanted to bring him on there to be able to clean up with some people. Most people are just judging because they don't know it. Because I get it. You're watching a guy pretend like he's riding, bulls for 90. But I love the fact of being on Joe Rogan, being in front of all the guys that he's in front of. He's doing a lot for rodeo, and so it's great to have him as a coach, I think. So Rosser, you've got next week. We got a big event coming there in Fort Worth.
We start tomorrow. We have our back number gala brought to us by Tito's, and we're having we're trying to elevate the event as much as possible and celebrate women in the industry, because we have been underserved. I mean, Jackie and Larry D Jackie and Larry D really were the only two women who were making a living with a rope before you could. And so, my generation, when Jackie and I were done with college, you pretty much got a job or you got married and had started having kids, and you didn't really rope that much. Yeah, you could go to team roping jackpots, but breakaway jackpots, there was a few. There was a Wendy Ryan, there was the one in Billings, the world's richest. There wasn't a lot of, you had to travel your tail off to go to some good breakaway jackpots to continue to breakaway rope. And, in Texas, that the amateur rodeos, they had breakaway, but before, 2000 and I would say 19, we were, kind of retired breakaway ropers. And so this is going to be year 5 for Women's Rodeo World Championship. And after this year, Women's Rodeo World Championship has paid out $3.75 million to female rodeo athletes, equal money in the team roping. There's $183,000 added in the heading and the heeling, and $183 in the breakaway and $183 in the barrel race. And it's just cool. And I got to compete at the first 2 Women's Rodeo World Championships, and then I don't know, I opened my big mouth, I guess.
That's how it all starts.
That's how it starts. So I opened my mouth and
well, but the difference is this, is a lot of people in rodeo will open their mouth and they'll gripe and complain, but no one will pick anything up. It's a whole nother thing to say, well, I'll try to affect change somehow instead of just bitching about it, because anybody can bitch. And that's how I got involved the same way.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that's the right way. I think it could be better. And then eventually you end up volunteering for something, and it never ends.
Yeah. So this will be my 3rd year, or this is my 3rd year as commissioner. So, I mean, it sucks as a competitor that I kind of took myself out of the running to rope, because I just didn't think it was right, when you're in
and you can't.
Right.
I've tried to rope and manage everything.
Yeah.
You can't hardly. The guys that could, like, say the stuff that Trevor would juggle in a day and then still go win the world, that was fascinating. But when you're trying to produce and watch and keep your eye on everything and then try to compete, that's, man,
it's really challenging.
Yeah.
So we start Sunday night with our back number ceremony at Tanna Hills. And then Monday we have round 1. Round 2's Tuesday. Semifinals is the third day, Thursday. We have our championship round, and then Friday's obviously Kid Rock, and then Saturday we are the top 12 barrel racers for the championship round, top 3 in the breakaway and top 3 in the team roping, come to AT&T in the middle of the PBR World Finals. And so, these ladies are going to be in front of 20, 30, 40,000 people, going to be on CBS network again, sports, and, just really trying to give a platform, a place where all female rodeo athletes feel an inclusion. Okay. So we have the pros and the challengers. The pros is obviously we know who those people are. Those are the people that are making a living, who have won over 100,000 in the barrel race. They win over, 20,000 annually in the breakaway. You win over 10,000 annually. You've won over 30,000 in your career. And in the team open, you're number 5 or higher, 4.5 or lower. You're a challenger. So the classification allows someone like Jamie Roach to come back in the breakaway roping and not necessarily have to back in the box against Jackie right off the bat, but can get their feet wet a little bit, make those first couple of runs, and then come together at the end for 60,000. I mean, you win $60,000. It's a $60,000 check for maybe a full-time nurse or a full-time insurance adjuster who doesn't have the opportunity to go rodeo full-time and make a living doing it that way, but still has a great chance to rodeo at an event that is there to celebrate and elevate you.
Well, it's basically a year-long season, right? That culminates at the World Championship. And so first round, second round, semifinals, finals. And so that World Championship race ends there. We award the World Champion Pro and the World Champion Challenger, which is based on all of their points through that world's largest qualifying platform and what they do at the finals where they get bonus points. And then what happens at AT&T is like a bonus beyond there with a $60,000, payout to the winner. And so that's where if you're a challenger and you've been on a roll that week competing against challengers with challenger, the conditions are dialed back just a little bit for you also. And then you get to the end, say, you know what, I feel like I could do that. Confidence and momentum in rodeo will go a long way everywhere.
There's a lot of times that you'll have a challenger barrel racer come in there and blitz a run, and it's faster than the pros. I mean, it's happened.
Now, is there an age limit for the women's?
You have to be 13, and then 13? You can be 100 if you want to.
I love that part.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact of, say, not only are you giving people opportunities that have jobs, that have families, that have other things going on, but you're also giving a platform and a way to get your feet wet to learn how to win.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you're 13 and up, you're starting to try to, when you're able to kind of rope in your little area, but then all of a sudden now you get to test it out against the bigs.
Yeah.
That's where you're taking that next generation and evolving as well.
New for 25, we launched the limited in the breakaway and in the barrel race. And what that is it's going to include more ladies, the end of your career, 60 plus, 50 plus, or beginner, in that weird stage where you're like, I can't I can be 3, I can be 4. I don't know if I can be 1, I can be 2. So we launched the limited, it's about a $3,000 cap. And then, those 3 and 40 barrel racers, because the way to grow and elevate Women's Rodeo World Championship is to bring everybody in, all of these ladies in the barrel race. If you look at the numbers, right, you just had that awesome, if no one's listened to the Billy Bray, Jackie, Charlie podcast, they need to, because it's so good to look at the numbers. There's 3,500 ladies who have a WPRA card. Well, that means of those, there's 700, 6 of us that are breakaway ropers. The other 3,000 are barrel racers that think that they can win at a rodeo. There's 100,000 barrel racers in the industry. That means there's 97,000 ladies who are running barrels, who enjoy the sport, who don't have an avenue.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah,
and so what we want to do with the limited is just to say, hey, it's your own competition. They don't have to go compete against, the pros and the challengers. It's their own competition. We have added money to that. We have $42,000 added in that limited competition at the end of this, at 25. So at women's 25, we'll have that limited competition, but there's going to be a place where everybody in the female and realm of the rodeo industry can come to Women's Rodeo World Championship and feel celebrated.
Yep.
Have a great experience. We have a sip and shop at the Kimes. You can go shopping at the Kimes Ranch store. I mean, we have all of these fun things that we're trying. Last year we had a champions breakfast at the Cowgirl Hall of Fame, and it was so like nostalgic. It was crazy. You walk in there and it was like, here's all the ladies that have fought for inclusion and equity in the Western industry, and we're in here getting to celebrate it and having a beautiful breakfast before we go compete for $60,000.
So come next Monday, where does everything at? Is it
Cowtown Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So all week, correct?
All
Still
week.
the same
And
spot.
yeah, Cowtown Coliseum all week, and it's free to the public. So we would love for anybody to come down and if you go to Women's Rodeo World Championships Facebook or wrwc.rodeo, you can see the schedule. But we start at 2:00 on Monday.
How do we watch it?
Cowboy Channel, Cowgirl Channel, Ride Past Pluto, and then obviously CBS. It'll be live, a little tape delay for CBS.
And what exactly all are the events for the women's rodeo?
Breakaway roping, team roping, heading heeling, obviously, and the barrel race.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then I remember, right, they all pay $60,000 to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have another bonuses as well.
Yeah, us and the PBR are the only ones that really give a world champion bonus. So there's a $20,000 bonus to the all-around champion cowgirl after that year-long race, and that is awarded after our semifinal night. So that would be Wednesday, and then our world champion challenger in all divisions get a $5,000 bonus.
That's year end.
Mm-hmm, year end.
So who won the all around last year? Was it Martha?
It was Martha.
So Martha won the heading for $60,000,
Mm-hmm.
won the all around for $20,000,
Mm-hmm.
and then won the year end in the breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
So won $85,000, not even counting probably the jackpots along the way.
All the rounds
All
and
the
aggregate
rounds,
and all that
yeah.
stuff pays
So she
too.
probably could have closed. She won close to maybe 100,000. Or did you guys
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what she won last year? Because she
I
had to
don't-
be the high money winner. Right?
Yeah, for sure. She was the high money winner. I think it was probably close to 90. I don't know if she was right.
Freaking living in
Mm-hmm.
one spot.
And
Yeah.
she'll tell you that there's a lot of times that Martha will be like, I needed this so much that I wasn't gonna get to go any further if these things didn't happen. And she capitalizes when there is that much money up, but she's learned where and when to nominate. She nominates all of the jackpots that she goes to that
Found
have
the
multiple.
strategy.
She's found the strategy that works for her in the nomination process. She's won the VRQ bonus once or twice. I think she's
a couple times. She's in the lead now, and that's a $25,000 bonus.
Because that's where, as rodeo athletes, because as a timed event, you've got to be able to find a way to buy a truck. You've got to be able to find a way to get a trailer if you don't have a sponsor for it. Then not only that, now you need freaking horses
Mm-hmm.
because to go through all that stuff. Well, them stuff bitches ain't cheap anymore either. Well, you ain't going to win at $2,500 at a time or $1,500 a time rodeo.
No.
You've got to find them places that actually make money in order to be able to get assets where you can continue to keep winning.
They help you get ahead. And
gosh,
with
what you guys are doing for that is phenomenal.
with the way that the breakaway, and I don't want to get too much into that, but how these girls had to rodeo to try to make it to the NFR and then not be able to rope for equal money, it breaks my heart for them because they're trying to live the dream so much, just like to cut yourself off at the legs because there's this platform and they're building their own brand and they're building their own label and all of these things to try to make themselves an entity, but they can't get ahead. When Wade was rodeoing, you pretty much had to make the NFR to get to the black. Like you would do good and say you'd won 5 or 10,000. You had some money in the bank, but you weren't making a living. You had to go to the NFR and you had to do well at the NFR because that was the money that you made to live on. And so when they were on that $5,000 go rounds, I mean, that's our bonus.
Yeah,
that's the bonus that we get.
You can't even hardly. I mean, I think Cheyenne. Guillory. I forgot what's her name. She just got married.
McCarthy.
I think they said she was the high money winner at
$29,000.
$29,000.
She wins $29,000 in 10 go rounds at the NFR of breakaway, and that's less than what one event pays in one night.
Yeah, and you can't. And if you go down, you're packing your bearings. If you go down tires, brakes, all that stuff that goes on, vet bills, credit cards.
Credit card.
That didn't.
It makes me sad. I hate that.
Get even again, and you rock back on.
And so that's why.
frustrating.
And I love. I mean, I've been in this industry my whole life. I bleed rodeo. I love it. I hate that it's that everybody should be sad and embarrassed because I always
totally
say,
agree.
if you invite me to dinner, everybody gets to eat steak and I get a peanut butter and jelly, like an uncrustable, maybe frozen, probably old. That's how it is. And how does anybody look at this whole entire situation and go, oh, they got to pay their dues. You got to pay your dues.
I almost said that one. Yeah, I almost said that one. But I tell you what, I've been listening to Jackie have conversations before a podcast with some of the upper levels of what's going on behind the scenes. And when I hear, well, we're hopeful.
Yeah.
Like, you're the head of that department and you're hopeful?
I'm going to tell you that Bobby and I
we've talked about it. Well, we're looking into it. I'm like, if you're in a for-profit, your ass is freaking fired.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hopeful and you don't know, and that's the head of your department, you're freaking fired.
Yeah.
And
it will never happen.
It doesn't feel more government.
There's not
than anything I've ever heard before. Like, because everyone has a job, they're fine, but then their contestants are just starving.
Yeah.
Well, that's a definition of a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is. And I get wrapped up in that stuff, but then I can't do anything about it. That's why I am where I am.
This
right?
is why you guys
That's what I was just about to say.
That's what I love about it. That's why I'm so hopeful of what you guys are doing.
My livelihood was attached to that for so long, and the next time I nodded my head could be the last time, and I knew that. And that was the reality. And I saw too many guys who were my heroes who gave everything that they had to give to rodeo. Their families made tons of sacrifices, and when they were done, they had a broken body, broken families, broken finances, and then there's another crop of kids just lining up, just like, I'll do whatever it takes to try to be in your shoes. Like, will you? Do you know what that means? Because, like, I love this sport to the core of me, but I don't love what it does to people. And if you're not all in and willing to just take, I have done some of the stupidest things to my body and wrist, everything, to try to get points, to try to make it to the NFR, to try to win a world championship.
I remember when they had to land a plane because you lacerated, what was it? What the heck was it?
Pancreas.
Pancreas. And you almost died.
Yeah. And if you don't, and
because you're trying to get to another one. That's
the nature of the sport. And that's fine. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But doggone, the reward needs to be better.
Yeah.
And the only, if we don't get more people doing this and more money in it, then you can't make the reward good enough. And that's what, when I was a pro, I thought everybody else looked at it the way I did. Like, you're the top of the pyramid. Like, all these other people must be losers if they don't think this way. You and I had plenty of these conversations. And so, but then what I've started to realize is everybody's not in that position. Mm-hmm. Everybody can't be in that position because they have a family, they have a job or whatever. It doesn't mean that they stink at what they do. A lot of these people are really good at it, but they can't just go live like a gypsy for 200 days out of the year in the back of a van or a trailer or whatever and just live in debt. And I don't mean to just be so negative about it, but that's the dang truth.
That was our reality.
That was the reality. And so, I was just like, I never was a contestant representative because I rodeoed my best traveling partner, Jason Havens. He was a bareback riding rep for a couple of years. And so I saw it firsthand how much he would try to make change, and they would just tell you what you needed to hear long enough to get you to do what they wanted you to do, and then they would just wipe their hands of you and on to the next one. Just like, there's too many conflicts of interest. And so then that's how come we ended up doing our own thing. It's just like, if we can't affect change inside of it, can we affect change out of it? And I firmly believe that some of the things that we've done have directly affected change. You talk about like Martha, she's one person, but she's one of a lot of people who the money has helped them to be able to keep the hamster wheel spinning. Mm-hmm. Right. And then there's other people who, just needed doggone, it's hard to get a break in this industry. And if you can come to one of these and seize the opportunity and get some money in your pocket, get some momentum, get some confidence, then we've seen it with a handful of people who have just taken that momentum and turned it into them realizing, I want people to go to the NFR. We're not in competition with that. That's not the idea. This is supplemental. This is meant to complement the other. And same thing with Kid Rock's Rock and Rodeo. This is meant to complement rodeo. This is not the replacement. This is something to get new eyeballs,
and new ideas, and see where this could go.
Yeah, and see where it could go. Like, and if you talk about that, like, not just a rodeo. You got Cowboy Stadium, so let's just pick the biggest, swankiest venue that we can. Everybody knows where that one's at. And then you set up an arena that's basically encompasses the whole football field. And then let's have in the timed events where they go head to head at the same time. And so it's set up in bracket, these matches are set up in brackets. And so there's 6 total teams. So there's 3 matches in each discipline in round 1. So like in all the roping and all the timed events, they're going to be coming at you. So if you're sitting in the stands, they're going to be coming at you from sideline to sideline, and they're going to start at the exact same time. So there's a light tree, just like in drag racing, red, red, yellow, yellow, green. When that light turns green, the gate comes open, the animal is released, the time starts.
Now, this is in the timed event.
This is in the timed event.
Calf roping, steer wrestling, team roping. This is the
breakaway
Kid Rock
roping.
And the breakaway roping. This is the Kid Rock.
Barrel racing.
And the barrels.
And the barrels. So they come
run at the same time.
They come in the arena like at a 45 from opposite end zones. And they run the barrel pattern. They start in a 16-foot box just like in the roping. There's what they call, instead of the barrier line, it's called the line of scrimmage. And so there's electric eyes where the line of scrimmage is placed in different locations based on the discipline, and you can't cross it before the light turns green. Mm-hmm. But like in the barrel racing, you could get a run at it, just like scoring, right? So if they cross that line of scrimmage too soon before the light turns green, say their horse takes off, say they're just trying to get a roll and go, and they hit it before, then there's a penalty, a time penalty. It's the same as hitting a barrel. And if you hit it before the yellow starts, then it's a disqualification.
So Lindsay just showed me a diagram of how this is going to be ran. How does everyone be able to get online where they can see that diagram? Is it out yet, where they can kind of almost see it before actually?
I don't know if it's out.
You guys
I don't
on
know
the
that it's
website
out.
or anything yet?
What you need to do is buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket's a good.
There's not a lot of tickets left, but I'm telling you, you need to get one no matter, because in Cowboy Stadium, it doesn't matter where you're at anyways. The largest scoreboard ever is right in front of you.
You just got to make sure you take some Advil because your neck's going to get tired looking at that thing.
The higher you are, the more level you are.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be a full evening, but I mean, you start with concert. That Kid Rock, and he's got some friends of his that are coming to play, are going to play a few songs. And then you start with these matches, you go through it, and then you
go through the entire event too.
Can you guys please get next year? Let's find a date. Let's stick to it.
You don't have a school, so you need to give us your school date so we can build it.
I'll go around you guys. I'll go around. just let me know when it is.
When it happens.
Gosh, dang it! I've never felt anything in rodeo I've been so excited for in my entire life.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to be fun. And there's like you said, we were very lucky that we got to go to Nashville and kind of hang out with Kid Rock, and he's like,
he's a rodeo fan.
What all of his, how his interviews are, and he's very boisterous about America and his pride and all of it. Like that is him,
and a Christian
24/7 all the time, and he's like, we're gonna have some crazy essays,
and
he's
a Christian,
like,
but
we're gonna do some crazy shit, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna have that, and it's gonna be wild. And
so, is there gonna be midgets riding bulls?
Not riding, fighting.
So midget matador?
Yes, midget, bullfights. There's the teeter-totter.
What about Charlie Too Tall? Did he get invited?
Well,
he's some of our iconic rodeo
I know.
clients.
He was on the short list.
He's on the short list, so maybe next year.
Bobby made a joke.
I want Charlie in there. He'd be awesome too.
Aunt Cindy and I were talking about we should send Charlie when we send the teeter-totter out for the rodeo. Make Charlie drive it out to just cause it would be awesome.
Absolutely.
But no, it'll be crazy. And
there's going to be some tweaks. There's going to be some things like that was a swing and miss. And one thing that got about that cat is he knows how to put butts in seats. So it's a great job. It's great to have an entertainer in there. And there's going to be some things that may not work. But I mean, within a few years, there's no telling where this thing could go. I'm just excited to see who's going to be in the stands.
And I think it's worth noting that he's a partner in it.
Yeah.
He's got risk.
Yeah.
So if it's not successful,
skin in the game because he's doing the concert for free, Craig. It's a long-term play for him.
He's half and half with the PBR putting this on. So, I mean, he's as incentivized for it to succeed as anybody. I mean, he's got friends. Right. And
Did
his
you guys-
friends are going to be like, I want to do one of those.
Yep, I heard about it. Bad Boy Lawnmowers. The CEO, he said he wants a team. But like, did you guys watch the Tom Brady roast the other day on Netflix?
No, I heard it's really good.
It's
and
really good.
like kind of raunchy too,
It's
though.
a little raunchy.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it is you're starting to see the comedians, which is I think Joe Rogan is bringing the comedians and the UFC fighters. He's almost combining them. And those guys are going to these events where it's not woke.
Mhm.
And these guys love rodeo because UFC, I think, and rodeo are the two, and PBR are those little niches right there that like this is America first
Yeah.
kind of feel, and is cultivating a group of people that are wanting to go watch things and support them. You know, Trump goes to the UFC, all the comedians, all the somebody that like loves this country are all getting.
How cool would it be
brought
if
to that.
Trump showed up
I
to the Kid
guarantee
Rock
it would
and
not
Rodeo?
surprise me in a few. As long as he doesn't go to prison, I think he'll be there.
It's like-
You know, he may not
Going
be
to
there this
prison.
year, but he's going to go because those guys are really good friends. You know,
Yeah, they are.
His characters in all realms. He's going to bring a lot of eyeballs to rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about
It's
it.
going to be exciting. There's been a lot of trash talking, and I mean, when they were replacing people, I wholeheartedly believe that they were poaching off of the leaderboard list of people that were here in the rough stock, and there's just been. It'll be fun to just see how it all plays out. Because really, I mean, as a college rodeo coach, you know, when you pick your team, you're like, who knows if Bobby's going to show up today in the bareback riding? Golly, I hope he does. Because you know he has the ability to win. You know he's good enough. And then you're like, just win today.
Yeah.
I need you to win today on your team because our team needs
Kind
to
of like
do
you guys
good.
with Jackie tonight.
Well, the thing
Right?
about our team that I think that people haven't considered, not only did you take a Luke Brown and Jade Corkill or a Jackie Crawford, there's people who
Pearson in the Bulldogging.
well
He's already
drafted
Oh,
on
dang it.
team.
I seen he went around last night.
Yeah, but there's a bunch
Bridger
of people.
Anderson, they used him for promotional and didn't draft him. Same with Jackie. I
yeah.
mean, they used
Classic.
their faces. I'm on the draft list, and then don't draft them.
Yeah, so those people are going to show up. They're like, I got a little something to prove here.
Yeah,
right?
middle
And
finger
so-
in the air, just like Kid Rock
Darn
would.
right, yeah. And so, I don't think people have fully considered that. And
Yeah,
so,
you guys
like
got
when
some
we're at the
chips on your
draft,
shoulders in your guys' team, which I love.
when
There's-
we were
yeah.
at the draft, there was there some of the other teams, like we brought some points up, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter for you guys, anyways." Kind of just blowing us off.
Yeah,
right?
like Bad News Bears. Like,
yeah,
we're not worried about you.
And that doesn't take much of that to piss me off, and so then I'm a little bit bowed up about it anyways. And then we start getting into this, and you start seeing the guys like the Luke Browns and Jade Corkills trying to qualify and stuff because they don't have to tell me that they want to come and prove everybody that they are relevant,
Which drives
very relevant.
everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
which
big
drives
time.
everything. And so now you got these guys and gals who are all excellent at what they do. There's no argument about it. And they got something to prove. These other guys,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they got no skin in the game, but kind of not really. I mean, they
I
just
agree.
got picked. They just show up. These people have had to earn their way through it.
Mhm.
And so
And they're
not
going to
only
come
that,
off a win.
and they come off a win. They just
Momentum.
win
Momentum's huge.
20 some $1,000
It's like
this
going
week.
through a
4
wild
days ago.
Darn right.
and you're
4
yeah.
days ago, they come off a big, and it's not a little win. It's 15
it's-
grand.
Yeah.
It's a big win.
And that's not even counting the first round and the average.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you said, Gus Galliard's already won 17,000. Jackie's
and
already
a
won
shot at-
8,500, 9,000,
and a shot
something
at
like
15
that.
more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a chance to win more in the breakaway rope in finals one. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Which is realistic. It's awesome.
Yeah, and then when they get on the team, then they're guaranteed $4,000 appearance fee.
So, this is kind of I'm a timing. Everyone knows I'm a team roper and stuff like that. So I've talked to a lot of the contestants that are going to the Kid Rock Rodeo, and we've talked about the light system and going head to head competition, which I love. But I haven't got to talk to anybody, Bobby, about the rough stock end. So how does the rough stock work? The rough stock side of things work at Kid Rock's Rodeo?
Yeah, so we'll have the bracket. We'll know which team we already know which team we're facing up against, and there'll be stock drawn in each match. Okay, and then depending on whether there was a number draw which determined whether the term they're using is home and away. It's like a coin flip, right? And so like when they start a football game, we do the coin
Loving
flip, and
this.
you say, do you want to kick? You want to receive? Okay, other team, which end zone do you want to defend? So it's a little bit like that. So depending on whether we're home or away in each particular match, we're going to say, I either want to pick the stock that my guy is going to get on, or I want to go first or second. And so you get to pick one or the other. Both teams have a decision each time. So your person who you use in the first round can't be the same person you use in the second round. And then the third round, you can use either of them. But so there's a lot of strategy in who you match up against, not only their stock in the riding events, or who they're matched up against in the timed events, and whether they go first, whether they go second. The team roping is the only place, I think, the arena conditions, it's maybe an advantage more on one side than the other, because on the right side, so if we're going end zone to end zone, in the center of, say, the 50-yard line, if you're sitting at the stand, straight across the ring is where the stage is. And so it's out in the arena a little ways, 15 or 20 feet, something like that. But if you hook it on one pretty fast in the team rope and you're on the right side to stage right arena, then you're going to have that.
You have to move up the arena a little bit more.
And so there's an advantage to being on the left side, because you're not going to have.
So the arena's not exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, but there's an angular kind of stage that pops out.
Okay.
So with the start, that stage will be, say if the stage is here and the chute's set back just a little bit.
They can't see you on the radio.
I know, but I'm showing
She's
him.
talking with
the
her
main
hands.
thing. The main thing is though, is this makes people either want to get a ticket or watch it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go
When
get
you
a
turn
ticket. Go get a ticket. It's going to be worth your money.
And then you guys going to put the brackets and some of that stuff on social media a little bit, or just make it?
I think after Wednesday, when we know who's getting matched up and what stock and all of that is going to get paired up with, I think Wednesday is when all that will go public.
So the judging then on the rough stock, is it, because you're not going to light them, right? You're not going to go.
No, they've got 45 seconds to get out of there,
seconds.
unless the horse is just on its belly and you just can't go. But then so they'll buck the first guy and the second guy in each match, and then they both get scored. But you got to have the same judges scoring it, because otherwise it would be different, right? Okay. So and then based on the highest score advances. So right, and so then you just move on to the next match.
Got it. So it stays somewhat close to the same.
It's a little bit more like you'd expect. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So one of the things I wanted to understand too is it seemed like you guys are, integrated a little bit with and intertwined together a little bit with the WCRA and the WRWC. Where are you guys? How are you guys intertwined together? The PBR is in there somewhere. Yeah. How does this umbrella work? Like how does this all kind of come together?
With the WRWC, our parent companies is the WCRA and the PBR. They're co-owners, partners on, 50-50 with the WRWC. So Gary McKinney and Sean Gleason were together in Kansas City and decided that they wanted to have the largest women's rodeo in the world and add 750,000. And I wasn't there, but it was kind of like a decision was made right then. And there was an announcement made right then as well, on national TV that this was going to happen. And so those two came together and started the WRWC. And I think it was just an event. And then when they hired Sammy Jo Smith, who's an amazing asset to the rodeo industry, in my opinion, when they hired us, like 3 years ago to kind of come together, 2.5 years ago to come together and kind of really focus on it. I think it's really grown, in my personal opinion.
Because what do you guys add next week at the women's finals?
750,000.
750.
Well, more now with the limited.
Well, yeah, with the limited, but that'll be next year. And then we add money. We have this year 25. Because it's April to April, so 25 has already started. You can already start nominating for women's 25. But we've implemented the Women's Rodeo Championship, which is just kind of like a governing body so that we can grow. The only way that we can grow Women's Rodeo World Championships, it's just an event. So the way that we can grow is just with Women's Rodeo Championship. We have a identification card now that will really help develop some side pots at different Chris Neal events. California's Richest, help with maybe a little bit of a discounted nomination. When you nominate those side pots, we pay out those side pots. It nominates that side pot and the major, jackpot that you're going to. So really with the Women's Rodeo Championship, just to try to develop more opportunities for ladies to grow, all together with that ID card.
Yeah, through the year and earn more points, which points have value the more that you can, get when you make it to the Women's Rodeo World Championship. I mean, it's hard it's limited to top 20.
Yeah, we
right?
only take the top 20 as well, in the Challenger and the Pro.
Yeah, so the Women's Rodeo Championships events will be effectively like tour stops where you can go and you can earn more points and have a chance to earn exclusive dollars that everybody else doesn't get. And those opportunities will grow based on what we've got charted out in the future.
So for someone to hear about the WCRA and the Women's World Finals for the first time, where do they go? How do they get nominated? How do they start getting involved with these events that you guys have going on?
So I'll touch on WCRA. You can take women's, but for WCRA, it's WCRA.rodeo.com. WCRArodeo.com. That was youth, right? Yeah, WCRArodeo.com. And we have a pretty good website that like how it works.
You have a youth.
Yeah, we have a youth. We have a youth platform also. DY Division Youth. So that's dy.rodeo. That's where I got confused, but. Yeah, so we have it at all three levels. We have it at the youth level. So there's two classes there also, and it basically mimics women's. And so what we're finding is that, it's hard to teach and change people's minds like our age, but these kids, they get it. Like it's no issue at all for them. And so we treat them just the same as we do the pros. They have they have instant replay. They have all the same stuff that they do for the pros. And we just had a DY showcase here Tuesday, and so we took the top 8 from the leaderboard.
$55,000.
Yeah, $55,000 we paid out at it, or added to it.
So it's a little bit better than the NFR. The kids
breakaway rope, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I mean the kids deal, the NFR.
Junior, yeah,
that one's.
Yeah, and so we had kids from all over come here, and so then they got like double the points that they could get at anywhere else. And so like Shad Field's son, Daxton, he wins third in the bareback range. Like he won a good check, but then he also he would have had to win 4 high school rodeos outright to get that many points.
Yeah.
And so he wants to win a world championship. Go figure, right? So and they have cash bonuses for their world championships and all around bonuses too. So we're doing the same thing at all levels. And so for women's, if they want to learn more about it,
yep, you can go to Women's Rodeo World Championship. So WRWC.rodeo is the website, but Women's Rodeo on all platforms, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. It's Women's Rodeo. But really, if you download the Women's Rodeo World Championship app or the WCRA app, you can build your profile for the virtual rodeo qualifier, and you can put in any, like we said, any publicly, where we can see the results or we can get the results event, you can add it. It's support@WCRArodeo.com, and we can get those added for you almost in a day, usually, as long as it's not on a Saturday, or Sunday morning, and get those to where you can nominate those events and start accumulating points. But if there's ever a question, we're kind of open books. You reach out to us and reach out to the whole team is willing to talk and help at any point in time for anything. So
if you register and create a profile, you're going to get a phone call, and you're going to get a phone call from somebody who's like, welcome, what questions can I answer for you? Where are you going? How's this work? And then you'll nominate, and then they'll follow back up with you again. They'll call you and they'll say, hey, how'd it go last week at Kalamazoo, and where are you going this week? And so then you'll have their number and you'll be like, hey, I don't understand how this works. You have somebody to call. And so there's
event reps for, there's breakaway reps, there's tie down reps, there's rough stock guys. All of the staff is very supportive on anything that you need to know.
Love it. Now, what about the Kid Rock Rodeo again? One more time. What is that on? How do we watch it?
It's May 17th.
May 17th.
Cowboy Stadium. And it'll air on CBS
May 26th.
May 26th.
May 26th.
And
1 o'clock or 12 to 1 Eastern.
Okay.
Kid Rock.
12 o'clock, 1 Eastern.
They have their own social media platform, Kid Rock's Rockin' Rodeo. But really follow WCRA because, they're our team. And so we're building this team, for kind of everybody else in the industry that's been overlooked. That's what Team Free Riders is for.
I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I love the fact that you're changing the image of where rodeoing's going because you're creating new ideas. You're trying to do it. You're trying to make it better. I love the fact that you guys have a feeder system for guys that ain't full-time rodeo, and I love what you're doing for the kids.
Yeah.
I love because if that's where the future's at. That's one thing Billy Bray talked about is if there's not a good, strong amount of kids coming up, and then we we start fading on our contestants and where rodeo goes. And you guys are doing a great job of continuing the next generation and helping them find a way and learn how to win. I love what you guys are doing.
14 million
and for women's rodeo, what you're doing.
14 million for the WCRA they paid out, right? 14 million? I think it's 14. And at least for women's rodeo, we'll be at 3.7. I think at the end of the, I think with the money that's paid out to women, it's like 5 or 6 million to women.
For what you guys are doing for women's rodeo, it's phenomenal. For me having 2 daughters, for me having a wife that full time competes, obviously I'm a fan, but yeah, just to be able to see something because that's where a huge amount of numbers are at.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll be over 17 million this week.
This week?
Mm-hmm.
That's not very much money.
Well, and it's the thing, and it's also not a very long time. It's not.
This is our 6th year.
Short amount of time. So I love it. Love what you all are doing. Thanks, guys. I know you guys are busy. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Hopefully, everyone will watch it. I know I freaking will.
Hopefully we have a Crawford on our team after tonight. About 9:00, we'll know. I'm so excited.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Yeah, I can't believe I'm not going to be there. This is next year for sure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.